Past the morning, so good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Good. I expect nothing less. Fine group of people like yourselves out today. I want to tell you a little bit about Catamount Institute. I won't spend much time on this, and I'll talk a little bit about the program we've done, which is the Pikes Sustainable Business Network. And that's a little bit of a mouthful at times. But this program was in existence in our area probably about 8 or 9 years ago, and that's how I got involved with Catamount. And at the time, it was never sustainable. It was great things from Catamount Institute going out and bringing speakers in and doing some education, but the community wasn't stepping up to help support the program. Times have changed, and we understand that there are people stepping up, and we do need this in our community. I'll talk a little bit about that as we go. We have focused really on youth-based education, teaching our kids about the environment, leveraging the environment to advance the learning process. And we understand really the importance of that and really what's changed with our youth in today's world. So that's a little bit about Catamount. I won't spend much time with that. So first and foremost, I want everybody kind of take a little collective sigh here, a little breath. I'm not going to sit there and preach to you guys about changing your light bulb. I'm not going to tell you about driving a Prius or something like that. So clear your head of just those things. But I do have proof, and if everybody can see both boards here, that global warming is true. And this is very definitive proof. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. If you're not having fun, you shouldn't be doing it, right? We're not going to talk about global warming. We can't get into the debates. We're going to talk about good business practices and things that are kind of relevant to health and community. And as I said, it's not whether you believe in global warming or not, it's whether you believe in good business decisions. First and foremost, for the sake of our community and the sake of our planet, we must all take the Hippocratic Oath. And that is to first do no harm, right? We start talking about sustainability and kind of environmentalism, but it's really understanding our resources and where our resources come from. That said, let's get some facts and figures out on the table. On the planet today, there are 6.7 billion people. And I'm going to throw a lot of facts at you now, and I'm not asking you just to take them, memorize each one, but kind of take them all in and really understand some of the key points we're dealing with. So that's 6.7 billion people. That's up from 3.7 billion in 1970. This number is expected to triple by the year 2100. Guys, we're arguing and fighting for resources today. We're struggling for resources today. Where are we going to get the resources from as the population grows and our needs increase? That's 263,000 people being born on this planet every single day. That's 10,000 people alone in the United States that are born every day. As Americans, just another kind of random fact here, but we throw away 20 billion tons of plastic every year. Throw it away. Not recycle, not anything else. We throw that away. 20 billion tons. And how do we make that? Well, petroleum is one of the main sources how we get that. So there's two ways we get products. We mine it or we grow it. Right? Everything we own, everything we do, we either mine it or grow it. So we understand this is the whole mining side, and now it comes with a price. On our roads today, we have 140 million cars in the United States, driving 4 billion miles a day, using 200 millions of gasoline per day. And every year, even in this tough economic times, that's still about 10 million cars driving right off of those new showroom floors right back onto our highways. And I read an interesting fact about a week or two ago that I forgot how many, it's like 14,000 gallons of water to produce one car. Well, I just mentioned water. We also understand where our resources come from as a community and understand what that means to conserve our own resources. Okay, just a quick little fact here. It's kind of obvious for a lot of people, but maybe not for everybody. What's the number one power source for Colorado Springs? Where do we get our power from? Coal. 70% of our power comes from coal. It's a little bit over 70%. We should have a little bit of hydro, natural gas, and some other means. Renewables is really a very small sliver. But again, 70% of our electricity comes from coal, which means it had to be mined, which means it was up in northern Colorado and Wyoming, which are the two main mining sources, then transported all the way down here. And there's a lot of security issues and other type of issues that go along with that. And then there's the Drake Power Plant downtown. And that's Great, that's what supplies our electricity, but a lot of people don't like that downtown, and that's no fault of Colorado Springs Utilities, but we can't pick it up when we move it. We can't decommission it and put it somewhere else because everybody's utility bills is going to go up about $100 a month. So how realistic is that? So we need to understand where our resources come from and some of the ramifications. We need to educate ourselves. Our water, where's our water come from? Everybody will also look, our water comes from Pikes Peak. Well, does it? A very small. Manitou's water comes from Pikes Peak. So those of you who may live in Manitou, great, you have Pikes Peak water. Colorado Springs Utilities, very small, a few percent actually comes from Pikes Peak. Our water is shipped to us from the Western Slope, Twin Lakes, Blue River, some of those other areas up in the mountains. How do we get it here? We have to burn coal to power our pumps to get it here. Okay? We do very poor in understanding where our resources come from. So it's very important from a sustainability side and a business side that we educate ourselves. All of your utility bills, and this is by no fault Colorado Springs Utilities problem, wasn't to say problem, but their driving force, natural prices, natural resources have gone up. Every one of your utility bills is going up across the board about 18% this year. That's 18% that's coming out of your pocket and going somewhere else if you own that building and have to pay for those resources. If not, it's still you're getting it with your rent or however else you're running your business. That number is projected from today's price. They're saying in the next 8 years, this price will double to supply natural resources, electricity and water to our community. That's money that's going from your pocket somewhere else. So how do you keep that money in your pocket? You have to conserve. Some other interesting things. I mentioned water before, but 100 gallons of water is what the average American uses per day. That's about 7 to 10 times more than the world average. If all the households in the United States installed water-efficient appliances, the country would save more than 3 trillion gallons of water at a cost of about $1.8 billion. So these little issues start adding up on a larger scale. So how do we start to measure kind of global health? And I'll even relate this back to kind of local health, both the health of the community and very specifically even the business community. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this. And one of the ways may be your carbon footprint. I think a lot of us in here have heard of that. Another may be life cycle analysis, and that's really kind of neat because they can look at a product and how it's mined, and then go all the way back to when that product's end use and use it. And another is life indicators, and life indicators is really interesting for me. And the life indicator kind of icon is the polar bear. Well, that's great. But how is the polar bear? How many of you have probably even seen a polar bear in here, number one? And how does that affect you in your business? What's something that is more tangible for you? So there are indicators that are in our own community that we should start paying attention to. One of those is we directly contribute the health and well-being of our planet to the health and well-being of our youth in our community. And I've got to walk around. I think the older I get, the more like ADD I get. I just get excited and I need to walk a little bit. So the health and well-being of our community is directly related to the health and well-being of our youth. Everybody, think in your own minds, somebody you may know with any of these disorders. ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, autism, diabetes. I can go on with that list. But if you really think, I'm sure you know somebody within your family, a friend, somebody who's got some of these disorders. So the health and well-being of our community directly relates back to the health and well-being of our, as I'm losing a few things here, health and well-being of our youth. But we need to understand that 1/3 of American children are clinically diagnosed as obese. We also need to understand that the number of kids living with chronic diseases has quadrupled in the last 40 years. It's up from 2% up to about 8%. The number of Americans with diabetes alone has risen from 1.5 million to 18 million in the last 50 years. What does this mean for you and your business, and your healthcare cost, and your productivity, and your kind of mindset?